was. Besides these infrastructure issues, there are often lack of national and institutional policies, the scarcity of experienced human resources, lack of leadership, lack of awareness of e-learning. In fact, in this country, a few years, people would struggle. Even you started an e-learning course, unless people need to own and believe that they can learn through e-learning, and their certificate will be, they'll think they have learned like anybody else who went to class. But we say that the certificate you get through e-learning, if it's University of Nairobi, it will not be written you went through e-learning, another one went through conventional. The certificate is the same, and I believe that what you have learned is as good as somebody who went and sat in class. Sometimes I think what has been used to convince people that it's good enough is to have a blended form where you have a bit of face-to-face and then the rest of the program can go on through e-learning. And I think that is now gaining more acceptance. The lack of appropriate educational e-content is another big challenge to the most institutions in developing countries. This can be attributed to lack of expertise as well as huge financial resources required to develop content. I think this we are alive to that developing of this content, the expertise, the resources required, and it is very difficult. Right, even from the designing and the delivering and the wondering about the standards of the programs has been always a challenge. More specifically, at the workplace, e-learning may enable highly effective training and skill development. But if the learning gains go unmeasured, employers and employees will be less inclined to participate or believe that e-learning works. I would state actually to say that some employers might not even believe a certificate through e-learning is as good. And if in cases where people go through e-learning and they are not certified, also the employer might think maybe how do I know you have gone through this program? So I think it's very important to see how do we measure people who have gone through e-learning so that there is enough evidence to demonstrate that they are as good. There are some institutions in this country who are doing extremely good job, but at the same time you can't say all of them are as good. Before as I come to conclusion, I hope this conference will have some of the opportunities where we can, one of the opportunities that come in my mind is partnership for joint researches at institutions. I think also the minister alluded to this, that universities can come together and strengthen themselves to do some joint researches between universities, practitioners, and maybe even employers, so that we will be able to connect to the industry with the relevant skills. So I see one opportunity is, as we go through this conference, then we should be able to tease out what are some of the relevant skills that we need, so that it's not e-learning for the sake of e-learning, but we are having e-learning to provide skills required in the industry. I also see that this conference gives an opportunity to think of the resources and especially what infrastructure, how can the infrastructure be made more effective, more efficient, and more cost effective. I think in most parts of this country, we are struggling by making the infrastructure reach every corner. We have also seen the providers, one provider digs to provide a cable. Within 3 months, another one has come to dig at the same place. And you're wondering, why can't we? Who would be the right person maybe to install a cable where everybody plugs into? If you go around Nairobi now, what you're finding is there's a lot of digging up because each of the provider is struggling to put their own cable. So those are challenges. And we also, of course, the other opportunity this conference brings is we can figure out what kind of content around the areas of content. We can also figure out the best method of delivery. We can also figure out, we have been told by the minister that the ICT policy requires review. I would hope from this conference, some institutions, some individuals would say, let's look at this policy. What part of the policy is working for us? We keep. What part of the policy is not working? and we propose some of the reviews. I'm also thinking from this conference, at least we will enhance our computer skills, because I think, as the minister said, if you are not, Dr. Kerem said, if you are not computer compliant or ICT compliance, then you cannot even go further to leverage on our ICT as one approach of learning. So I'm hoping this conference will be able to tease out what are some of the computer skills that we may need, and how fast can they be made accessible to the majority or to the critical mass, so that they can benefit from ICT. I'm also thinking that out of this conference, we'll have opportunity for some institutions to network together and be able to find what short courses they could offer. I'm also aware some universities like research, Ivy League universities that are offering free e-learning short courses. Those opportunities I think this conference would highlight. Sometimes, much as we are saying e-learning is expensive, there are institutions that are already giving some courses. I am aware of Stanford, and I think even Harvard, some very short courses that are free online, especially for personal development, that we need maybe personal skills or life skills that people can be able to benefit from. I think through this network, you can see what opportunities are there. We also think that within this conference, we could start figuring out what are the standards of e-learning. Do we have any standards somewhere that if I'm developing my e-learning program, I know I can say I have this standard which I can use to guarantee quality. Through this, I'm also thinking through this conference, we should be able to get some network, connect with each other to come up with the community of practice. People who are in the field of ICT, who are in human resource development, and they are thinking the mode of e-learning and what innovations could be brought in to make it more effective, more efficient, and a learning of choice, a mode of learning of choice moving forward. I think with those few remarks, I don't want to take more than our time. I hope I've already been able to highlight some of the areas, certain issues that you will be able to spend here through papers presented, through discussions. You will be able to deepen and more so think of areas of research for now or even for future. I wish to thank you very much for your kind attention, and I've enjoyed being among these scholars and the practitioners. Thank you very much, Chair.
My name is Dr. Ngumbi Elizabeth. I teach at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. When I listen to the challenge of e-learning being talked about by all of us here, I think we are walking to the right direction. And I want to go back to the classroom of the future, which is still the e-learning classroom. And I'm asking myself, I am well conversant with the Kenyan situation, the Kenyan teacher. I'm looking at the Kenyan teacher at primary school level. I'm also looking at the Kenyan teacher at secondary school level and at university level. I've had a chance to interact with all those levels. And my question is, are we really doing enough to prepare our teachers for this challenge? Because when I look at the classroom today, the teacher training colleges, we all know them. When I look at them, we are not doing as much as I would want to see for them to walk into the classroom without walls. I'm also looking at the universities. How much are we exposing our teachers who are either undergraduates or postgraduates to the computer use and technology? It is still crawling. I would want to use that word. We are still not standing up to that challenge. So I want to hear from Professor the training bit of our teachers. How far can we go? Thank you very much.
My question may also touch on Dr. Clement William, former Assistant Director of Higher Education. Do we have a policy framework from the Commission of University Education that captures especially the key issues of content with respect to e-learning? And I'm also glad to see that there is a talk of stakeholders being involved, because I think there are many stakeholders that need to come in. Thank you.
My name is Judith Kamau from the Kenya Methodist University. And you raised issues to do with the capacity building, regulation, acquisition of resources, standards, and curriculum development. And I was wondering, as you presented, what happened to the idea of Open University for Kenya? When you look at the issues you raised, we need somebody or some institution to give examples. Look at Tanzania, Open University of Tanzania. Look at South Africa, UNISA. Look at Nigeria, we have the NOW. And look at India, where we have the Indira Gandhi Open University, who actually perform the regulation of whether it is correspondence education, if we are to go to the history, to what we have now as e-learning. If government is not involved in the implementation of open and distance learning, which also embraces e-learning, how are we going to build capacity?
Thank you, Professor, for your delivery. And my name is Sally Suman from Ghana University of Education, Winnipeg. It appears we are all Africans here, and problems or challenges are almost the same. How are we training the teachers? The teachers, for far, if you go to the schools, there are some who have all these gadgets we are talking about. Our children have got them, we are privileged to have. But the majority of them in the rural areas, and these are the teachers we are training to go, if they themselves have not, be oriented to change this paradigm shift, what can we do? So that is my question. What can we do? Thank you.
From Gumbi, Dr. Gumbi, Catholic University of East Africa, are we doing enough to prepare teachers at all levels, generally in the area of ICT? I don't think we are doing enough. I can agree to that. We are not. There are two answers. We are not doing enough because, of course, of resources, because also of even the people, the teachers themselves. So the government has gone ahead and facilitated quite a number of schools using what we call Kenya Education Management Institute to go through some computer packages. But that might not be enough. But when you look at the project now of laptops for Standard 1 in primary schools, at least we did see the government entering in some partnership with Microsoft to train teachers. So I think that is already in place for Standard 1, but you must ask yourself, when the Standard 1 teacher is also going through that program and is going to teach the Standard 1s who will be joining, of course we also must be concerned the Standard 2 teacher, the Standard 3 teacher will just be peeping what is happening in Standard 1. So I think there is that need to find, maybe with the good leadership, then the teachers, when they see the primary school one come up with the computers, I think they should take a cue that if they don't become also digital, their jobs are going to be endangered. Because I do believe the illiteracy of the 21st century is not knowing how to read and write, is not knowing how to use the computers. So I think it has two responsibilities. One responsibility is where the government makes a plan of how to develop capacity for teachers to leverage on ICT, which means, because there's more than just e-learning. There is also the other portion where I believe an individual are to keep their eyes open and see what is happening around the world. In this country, there are many computer schools, but the way we were trained is I wait until my employer takes me to that school. But I think it's changing. A few people who can provide leadership for themselves and being able to go to learn these computer skills so that they can be more relevant in the jobs that they do. So for the short answer is the government is trying but has not done enough. But there is a clear program within the Kenya education staff to train, but the capacity, the number is big, The capacity is not really there, but a few teachers have gone through computer programs, and I hope maybe when Dr. Kiremi will be talking about tomorrow, you'll be able to say some schools, especially secondary schools, we have computer labs. So you will find maybe the teachers in those schools, I would expect them to have gone through those programs, because there are many, over 50% of Kenyan secondary schools now have computer labs, where the teachers are also expected to learn. The universities, I know, maybe when I was at the university, Kenyatta University, 1996, that particular time, people are like being introduced to learning computer skills. Most of the lecturers, we resisted. We did not see the need. So, but now the situation has changed. Quite a lot of university lecturers should be to find themselves relevant. They have computer skills so that they can be able to make their presentation in PowerPoint or prepare their own documents. And I think that there might be no organized way, like maybe Commission for Higher Education says, this is the computer level certificate you need to have at university level. But because of the changing time and the people realizing for them to remain relevant, different universities have got different approaches to how you get yourself computer literate. But it's not like uniform. I know the universities where I've taught, like Strathmore, they were very, very clear. Every lecturer needed to go through a certain certification course, which included computer literacy, but that is a university doing what they think would be good to support their own faculty. On Kidenji from Riara University, is there a policy framework for e-content? I don't think we have any policy framework for e-content as we are now. Every university is struggling, and everybody is thinking of maybe partnering with one institution. You don't know if that is the best institution, but I think this could be a very good idea where we have a framework that allows, of course not cast on stones, but allows people to develop their content to fit within their area of discipline. Question number 4 from Ghana. Yeah, this is the same on teachers. How are we training teachers? And I think that's where we start. And until we change the attitude of teachers for them to know the tools of trade have changed, it becomes difficult. That the tools of trade are now being ICT compliant so that you can be able to access information and knowledge. But in our context, until something is made mandatory, people don't take it serious. Like you are meant to have a certificate so that you can be promoted. But if it's something that doesn't have time frame, people tend to relax and not really take action on it. But I think this is something that will be required. How do we ensure Kenyans, teachers at all levels, are ICT compliance? I think something is being done, but it's not moving as fast as we would wish. Question number 5, I think, how do we have what is the framework for getting 1 million jobs? You know, there are some things which are said at different times. So let me not comment on getting 1 million jobs because it's a political statement. But I know for Kenya, we would want to have, the public service is supposed to facilitate in job creation and wealth creation by having the right environment and in putting a conducive environment so that the cost of doing business is reduced. So I think I will leave it at that. Do we have a database of unemployed? I would not even want to have a database of unemployed. I would want to have a database of what competencies Kenyans have, maybe in the case. And I think right now we have not started that, but we have a database of those who have applied for a job. We capture that data so that when we need it, but we have not told everybody, please go maybe to our website and put your CV there or something like that. We have not done that, but there could be a better way of having a database of the competence and skills we have in this country so that when people are being looked for a certain job, then you don't necessarily have to go around looking for them. You can go to your database and identify them based on their competencies. And Nancy Murioki asked, is the government considered using partnership I think the government has really been using partnership. We have, especially the government has been using development partners. Maybe you have had like the signing of capacity development within the computer labs for primary school. With the government entered into partnership with Microsoft, other development partners, UNDP are funding it. And above that, the government has always been wanting to have the three triangle where we are having the public service, the academia, and the private sector work together. And I think that's why there is a whole, what we call private-public partnership. Because this is the way of the future, that you have to have partnership to be able to leverage your resources. No one organization can claim to have solution to all challenges facing African countries. But we have resources within our countries. If we really use the partnership, we could be able to forge ahead. In particular, you can see even in this particular conference, some of the sponsors are, this is also a form of partnership. And I think within the PPP, there could be a framework of how those who want to partner with the government will be able to partner and in what areas. Let me also point, government is large. One ministry could be pursuing partnership with a particular organization or company and another one, and purely it might not be that coordinated that everybody would know who is partnering with what. Just as you see, maybe universities are free to partner with different other universities, different other companies, different sectors of the industry. So, but what I would like to emphasize is partnership is the way of the future. Either nationally, if you can't even partner nationally, you have no business of wanting to partner internationally. And we have seen that in this country, people may even leave partners who are within the country to pursue others, yet maybe you could have been better if you started our partnership locally, looking at what, because when you go into partnership, you just want to see where can that organization bring a certain strength where I am weak. So I think let's look within, if our universities can partner within themselves, and then after building that capacity, they can also be able to partner with other universities outside. I think it's both ways. First, we start by in Africa using the resources that we have, because sometimes we tend to be overwhelmed by saying what we don't have, rather than spending a lot of time saying what we have. Like you can say, we have our universities that can do research. We have our industries that can fund research that can benefit their growth. So I think all that needs to be thought out, and maybe find a framework of how we do that. For me, I believe that is the way forward. Has the government considered accrediting some of the e-learning institutions? I am not aware if the government has done that, but in the Kenyan situation, all institutions are supposed to be regulated. You cannot just come and put an e-learning program or any program just on your own. It must have been approved. For university education, Commission for Higher Education would approve. For other universities, the Senate would have to approve any program that is rolled out. And with the new act, all programs will be approved for university by Commission for University Education. I'm also thinking for tertiary, with the ministry must approve. So they must not be approved as an e-learning institution, but now this may be cause. Can we look which are some of the institutions that are giving e-learning that could be the best examples? And I think even within ourselves here, we could be able to say, we are aware of some institutions that are delivering e-learning with the best standards that we could want to borrow, so that we, if there is need to accredit. Although I see also a challenge there, because you might not just accredit an institution because of doing e-learning, because it's first to be accredited for general as a training institution or a university or a tertiary institution, but now looking deeper. Those who have been able to distinguish themselves in e-learning, what are the best practices that can be shared within a conference like this, and then we set the standards for, say, if you